Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from, and welcome to our today's Migration Center webinar. Today, our title is Migrating Regulated Environments to OpenText Documentum for Life Sciences. Before we start, let me do a quick slide of housekeeping. Please note that all attendees are muted during the whole session. Should you have any questions, remarks, inquiries, or anything else, please take a look at your GoToWebinar panel and either enter them into the questions box or into the chat panel. We will collect the questions and answer them in a dedicated Q&A session after the main part of this webinar. Please also note that this webinar is being recorded, and once it has been processed, we will share it with you via email. Let's move on to our speakers of today. First up, we have Roman Weber, our migration specialist for life sciences, who will take part in the slideshow in the beginning. And after that, we will switch to Cosmin, our migration consultant from FME Romania, who will then take you into a live demo of Migration Center. And with this, I would like to hand over to our first speaker, which is Roman.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody. Roman Weber, migration specialist. So what we are going to talk about today, or which topics we will present, is just an overview of our migration services. We'll talk about some use cases in general, what we support via our migration services, and in general, the migration to OpenText Documentum for life science. In detail, I will start with a general approach, which we use to migrate in general, from anything to something, and the challenges, the general challenges during the migrations. And I'm gonna specify this all to our unique migration approach, which we use for the OpenText Documentum for life sciences. I'm gonna talk about why FME, why migrating with FME. And after that, Cosmin will present the migration itself with a demo. And after that, we have some question and answer session. So basically to our organization. So we are a digitalizational company. It enables new ways of dealing with existing business and creates totally new business models. So why FME? We believe in the opportunities of digital transformation and love to help our clients worldwide maintain and create competitive business. The industry focus lies on solutions for life sciences and industrial manufacturing. In our case, this is life sciences. So we have consultants, we develop concepts, we develop the platforms, like we customize them, and we support the products, we maintain, we're going into the cloud, basically from the start. In 1995, we've been dragging this digitalization idea. We have now more than 220 employees, in total 22 revenues per year, and we have offices in Germany, a couple, then we have one in Romania and one in the United States. So for this webinar, we have in focus the Documentum for life science. If you attend on this webinar, I guess you're aware about the Documentum for life science and what this application can do, and it has its own life cycles and workflows, each security models and properties. And basically, what we're doing, we use the D2 platform, which is based on OpenText Documentum server. Those platforms we use for the migration into the Documentum for life science. And our services around it are basically, we can lead management of those projects. We can consult during our services, for example, for the validation, because we're aware of your environment, and it's not new, absolutely not new to us. And there are some design applications we can do for the Documentum for Life Science. We can deploy the technology from scratch, like the OpenText Documentum is based on a database. We can set it up so from scratch, from design of application to its fulfillment. And in the center, of course, the migration services itself. So we can drag the documents which you need from one system or a couple systems into one system, or again, couple systems if it's needed. So use cases. So use cases, again, first of all, migration. So we can migrate from legacy systems into the newest version of the Documentum for Life Sciences. Also, we can do content migrations from outdated client applications from some other systems into Documentum for Life Sciences. So basically, during this, we can help customer to reduce the TCO by consolidating the repositories from, which is at 2 repositories, for example, into 1 repository. Also, we can help customers to extend the platform, like if you have, again, using one platform for your validated environment, and there are some files on a share which need to be in this target system too. We can do it too. So we can help the customer to initially start using Migration Center or something. We can show it, we can consult using it. And as I said, maybe there's some use case, the commissioning application by archiving data to enterprise archive can be also an OpenText system. And along the way, of course, from the project management perspective, we can assume, or we can estimate, and we can test how long it's going to take, and we can test the data, and we can communicate this, and we can estimate the time, schedule, in which batches it's going to import, or we can do such things like reclassification of content objects. From the generic point of view, Cosmin is going to show the path from Documentum into the OpenText Documentum for Life Science. But in general, we can migrate from any solution. Control system, as like, for example, if you use Documentum, only Documentum platform, it's also validated and it's controlled, but you want to upgrade to OpenText Documentum for Life Science, for example, we can do an unstructured system like a file share. You have some unstructured, well, folder structure. We can migrate that too. That's where we have path 2 for Migration Center. We call it scanner. And also from maybe a third-party vendor solution you've got set up where you want to move from. And everything that we have to fit, of course, as I showed in the previous slide, to the dictionaries and taxonomies of the Documentum for Life Science, also the object types, and also the rules, security. What we provide, or we suggest to our customers, that we firstly do a proof of concept. There we ask the customers to provide, for example, 20% of data, which we will, well, look into the data quality and the complexity, risks and costs estimations will be delivered, and also the migration approach will be discussed with the customers. So why POC? So unknown data quality. It sounds like as a customer there are bad data or something like that, but sometimes it happens. So depending on the data quality and its structure, the duration and also the complexity of the migration itself can raise. That's going to be checked and it's going to be communicated also to the customer. The complexity will be checked on aren't there any stop shower, for example. And in the reference to risks, costs, and duration, well, our unique selling point is that most of project announcements will be made without POCs, and many years of experience showed that this is the main reason why projects mostly fail. And this is why we do the POCs first. Yes, and the outcome of the POC is, of course, the analysis of risks, cost times, to reduce the risks during the main project. After the POC, we did the main project where we have the all 100% of data. And as you see, we have 3 systems: development migration, which has some dry runs in it. So we propose to have 3 dry runs, but sometimes it can be just 1 or 2. In this case, it's just 2. So after every dry run, we migrate the documents or the content with the metadata, and we provide the output with the errors, failures, whatever, maybe suggestions how to do it better. And you will get this feedback, and this feedback will be communicated to you, and this is just an input for you, which will be discussed with us how to optimize or how to carry on the migration. After those dry runs a couple dry runs are done, of course, there's a validation migration afterwards, where no errors shall occur, and production migration, it goes into the production system, and definitely there are no errors anymore. From this V model perspective, this is for the development phase. So you've got your specification, you set up your user requirement, and now we can specify with you as consultants the migration specification. So for the attributes, which attributes will go from your source system to the target system, which you need, how they should look like, the mappings and whatever, security, that everything will be set up in the migration specification. And as I showed you with the dry runs, this migration specification during the development phase is like a living document. And depending on the feedback, it's going to be optimized with you. From our point of view, like everything in red, this is Migration Center. So we set up internally within the Migration Center those attributes, those mapping definitions. We create migration sets depending on the complexity, depending on the volume, how many documents you have, and of course the import process will happen also through the Migration Center, where we can on the other side test the migration itself with the log files and our experience, and again deliver the feedback, which you verify and adjust the specification. For the validation, this migration specification has to be final, so we can say, all right, this is how the migration will work. This migration specification is done, and during the run of this migration specification, during the using of this migration specification, on the other hand, FME will create the IQ for the migration and also the OQ. So can be two different documents. It can be also one document as you wish. We can discuss it with you. Well, and the PQ is of course on your side. To the challenges. So I said something about bad data. So how can bad data happen, would you ask? And well, it can happen because sometimes just simple server breaks down, or the system, the application is set up like some attributes are not predefined, and the user type in whatever they like to type in. So sometimes it's not controlled. So, or the source application, well, again, might be not watertight. But in any case, for the data as documents with metadata, in the end of the migration, we will provide a migration into the source system. So as like those documents have been created within the source system. Target system, I mean, sorry, the target system. The second challenge is referring to the volume. So depending on the volume, we will discuss with you how to approach the migration, and we would suggest that we run the old system in parallel to setting up the new target system, and we migrate in batches, so like in phases, and you can start working with the migrated documents in the target system, and in the parallel we will discuss with you how to shut down those batches within the source system, and step by step we migrate documents from the source system to the target system. Or we do the big bang approach, so we migrate every document into the target system, and step by step we run some deltas, so we compare which documents are new in the source system and drag them over to the target system. Referring to complexity, as I said, we can migrate through the D2 layer, or we can migrate through the OpenText content server. So D2 is based on the OpenText content server, and Documentum for Life Sciences is based on D2. There are some advantages and disadvantages. So if we use the predefined Documentum for Life Sciences configuration, it's set up just like that. We can use it, we can migrate through that. And also it will be used for the input process. It will reduce the validation effort because the Documentum for Life Sciences is validated as a tool for validated environments. Disadvantages would be just one. It is pretty much slower than the migration on the OpenText content server. So again, depending on the volume of the documents we will migrate. So migration on OpenText content server is much faster than migration on the D2 layer, but the validation effort is higher because it's manually set up, like it's artificially set up, like it is a Documentum for Life Sciences. OpenText content server will be customized for that. And well, last words from our side as a migration team. Why migrating with IFME? So we have several years of customer relationships with most of the leading life sciences companies. Basically, they are all satisfied if we migrated for them. All the migrations we've done, they were set up productive, and since we have this several years of experience within the validated environments, we are aware of the validation. For every new customer, we have the onboarding by the customers, so we've done it several times. Within FME, we have a competency center which is dedicated to only migrating. So we have this transfer of knowledge within FME throughout, I would say, the world, like Romania and US and Germany. Well, we're transparent and honest. Again, according to that data, we will communicate that we won't hide anything, and this is gonna be sometimes maybe unpleasant, but we have to, with you, we have to do that. So we have a clean migration into the target system afterwards. Well, in the current migration center is came out last month, and it's 3.9. That's it from our migration services team, and I would hand over to Cosmin, who will show the migration center demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you, Roman. I will now hand over your moderator rights to Cosmin, who will then do the live demonstration.
Hello, everybody. Hope you can see my screen. So I will be showing you a live demo of a migration from OpenText Documentum to the Documentum Life Sciences solution. And I'm gonna migrate. So for the purpose of this demo, in order to showcase the capabilities of Migration Center, I chose a rather small and simplistic batch of documents for the migration. So we'll be migrating two of these folders, which have a certain folder structure and the different types of documents in it, of course, with different types of metadata as well. And we're going to move this into the D2 application. Yeah, I will be guiding you through the process using Migration Center. So just to give a quick overview on the overall components of Migration Center. So right now you are seeing the Migration Center client. The Migration Center client is a Windows application. It connects to an Oracle database instance, which contains all the business critical processes. And then we also have one or multiple job servers, which are installed as a service on different machines, and they are the ones that actually do the connecting to the source and target systems to extract or put the metadata and content. So in order to start our migration, we go to the scanners view. So in order to create a new scanner to collect our data from Documentum, we just click on new, we give it a name, we select the type, so in this case this would be Documentum. You specify job server, so the one which will actually do the connection and collect all the content and metadata. And then as soon as we selected the adapter type, the scanner type, we can see a list of parameters appear below. So some of these are the basic parameters, such as connection information and where exactly do we want to scan. And then we have a lot of different checkboxes and parameters for features and specifying which document types we want to select and narrowing the scope. And then of course, for versions and virtual documents and so on. So I will open up one that I've already configured. So we'll be scanning the two folders from where I just showed earlier from the bank demo cabinet. And we have a custom document type called FME document here with some custom metadata. So once you have your scanner configured, quick mention, we're also going to be setting up an export location. This means that the content will get exported on the staging area, which is a file share, before actually moving it into the target system. And then all of the metadata will be stored inside the Migration Center database. So, okay, once we have our configuration, Well, that means we are ready to start it. So we just click on Run. And this just sends the configuration to the job server. And you can see the status has changed to running. We can even click on History. And this will show us a history of all the runs of this particular configuration. And you can see it already processed several objects. And if I click on refresh, you see the job has finished and the objects have been processed. So that means if I click on View Scanned Objects right now, we will see a grid where each row represents a object from Documentum. And you will see all of the metadata basically from Documentum scanned into the Migration Center database. And at the beginning, we also have a system attribute which shows where the content was exported on the staging area, which I configured earlier. So at this point, we are already separated with these particular documents from the source system. Everything is in Migration Center in the staging area, and we are ready to move on to the next stage, which is to organize what we want to import. So we go on to the migration sets view, and the way it works with our approach to migration is you can split batches, bulk batches of scans from the source system into more manageable migration sets. And that allows you to configure different rules on how the data will be migrated and transported based on each migration set configuration. Quickly, to create a new migration set, you just click on the New button. You specify a name, and then you specify a type. The type will be the migration path. So in our case, because the Documentum Life Sciences solution is based on the D2 solution, we'll be migrating from Documentum to D2. So let me quickly just open the one I've prepared in advance. So this will be our mix set, Documentum to D2. And then moving on to the next tab, we're able to select which scan runs we want in this particular migration set. So since we have done only one, that's what we are seeing here, only one Documentum scan. We will select this one. And then we have two extra tabs for filtering these objects. So if we don't want to include all of the objects in these scans, we can easily change based on different metadata. So we can use this filter based on exclusion. So we exclude objects based on their metadata value, or we can use a more advanced filter, and this allows you to create a more of a rule-based approach on how to select the documents. And one common scenario for this would be selecting all documents which have the modified date greater than a certain specified date, and you can create multiple complex rules for organizing and separating the scan runs. Yeah, but for the purpose of this demo, we have our scan run, and we're going to select all of the objects. Good. So once our mix set is created and the objects have been selected in this and locked in this mix set, you can see here we have a total number of objects 106, and then unprocessed also 106. And as we move on to the migration phases, you'll see the objects move into the different stages here, so transformed, validated, and then eventually into imported, or if there are any errors or something, you'll see an error, and then you can try to import them again after correcting those. Good. So the next phase in our migration approach would be to go to the transformation rules. Just to quickly give you an idea on what transformation rules are, I'll just show an example. So you create a new transformation rule. You can specify a name here. And then you can use in this transformation rule a wide array of transformation functions, which at their core are basically string manipulation functions that you can use and chain together to concatenate multiple attributes, to split them, to manipulate the source data in order to generate the target metadata that you want to match your target environment. And yeah, this can be some simple mapping, such as getting the, so in this case, this source attribute called contact number, just getting it from the source value. And when we perform the transformation, it will generate from source objects, it will generate target objects, which we can take a look and see how the metadata is going to look in the target system in this case. And then we have some regular transformation functions right here that we can define and basically map them to any target object. And we have some system transformations or system attributes, which work in the same way, but they serve a special purpose. So in the D2 case, we have a system rule called D2 properties, and this allows you to specify which property page you want to use from the D2 config. And I'm also going to show you a quick look. So we're going to be importing using a minimalist version, a custom application. And we have here some basic configuration. So for auto naming, we have a property page, which does some validations on each particular object here. And we also have the auto naming and auto linking, and these will be done based on some attributes that we're going to set in Migration Center. And because of the way Migration Center and specifically the importer works for the life sciences solution in D2 specifically, we are validating and triggering all these, business critical processes such as the validation, the property page validations, and then the life cycle applications of each objects. These are triggered through the D2 API. So even though right now I'm using a simple example to showcase this, if the property page in the application we were using was the clinical solution for the life sciences, the Documentum for life sciences, then the same Migration Center approach would be used. You just specify the right attributes, and then Migration Center will take care of triggering the appropriate processes in the Documentum for life sciences to ensure that everything is okay. So without getting into too many details, I have specified several rules here for extracting some source attributes that I want to map into my target system. I have done the associations to the target type that we will use, which is our custom MC Cosmin target type. And then we have mapped some of the source values to target attributes here, our rules. Once this is done, then that means we are ready to apply transformation and validation on these objects. And you will see the objects have moved into the validated state from the unprocessed. I have done transformation and validation at the same time. And then we can also take a look. So instead of the source objects, which is what we saw in the scanner from the source system, we can also take a look at the processed objects. And what we are seeing right now is basically the same objects, but with all the metadata generated by our rules, which we have defined on this mixset. So right now we have not committed anything to the target system, and we can already take a look at how the metadata is going to look in the target system. And if you have complex rules on taking source metadata and manipulating it to match the target system, then you can take a look here. And if something doesn't look right and you realize you have a corner case you need to cover in your source data, then you can just go back, change the transformation rules, adapt, and keep doing this until you make sure that all of the documents look and all of the metadata looks exactly as it's supposed to in order to match the requirements in your target, the life sciences solution that you need. And I can give you a quick example. So for this department attribute that we have here, if we take a look at the source attributes, you can see that the value is actually extracted from the path here, or not for the, no, I'm sorry, the customer name is actually extracted. There we go. So the customer name, we didn't have a value for this, and I used some transformation rules to extract it from the folder path because the structure was made in such a way. So this is just to give you a short example of the flexibility of metadata manipulation with Migration Center. So we basically generated a new attribute based on existing metadata by extracting parts of it. Once your documents are in the validated state, that means we are ready to move on to the import phase. So if we go to the importers view, you'll see the importer window looks very similar to the scanner one. You have a name, an adapter type, in this case D2, and then the job server location where this job will run. And similarly to the Documentum one, we have the authentication details and the repository we want to import to. And then we have the some checkboxes specific for the D2 features, basically. So applying auto naming, auto linking, security, life cycles, and so on. Yeah, and basically all the D2 configurations and life sciences configurations are going to be applied directly through the API. And let me quickly also open. So based on the configuration we have here for our auto linking, everything will be moved automatically by D2 into this MCDemo cabinet, and then a folder structure will be generated based on the attributes we set for, on the values we set for these attributes, which is the title and these two custom attributes here. Yeah. So basically, we just need to go into this Migrate Mixsets tab, and here we will see only mixsets which have validated objects which are ready to be imported, and we can select them, and then we just hit run, and the job starts just like we did with the scanner, and you can see the job status has changed to running. And I just quickly wanted to mention, because I forgot. So the path we specified for importing all of these documents is just a temp folder. So inside the D2 environment, we just import everything in the temp folder. But because we used the we enabled the auto linking and auto naming and all of these features, the documents will be taken by the D2 processes, and they will be moved in their appropriate areas based on their metadata, on their attributes directly, and then the object names will be changed the same based on the rules we have defined here. So these will be equivalent to the very specific and complicated Documentum for life sciences configurations which you will have. But from the Migration Center's point of view, this is all the same thing, because everything is handled through the API. So we can also take a look right now to see the history. We see we already have 20 objects processed. You'll have to excuse the slow speed. It's going through a VPN for the import, and yeah, the content transfer is slower than it was for scanning, because it's a different system. But we can already take a look here, and if we refresh, we see the structure is already being started, is already being created based on some of the objects which have been imported. And this is the folder created from the title, and then based on the first custom attribute, we have generated the second level of folders, and then we have the third level of folders. And if we take a look, we see that even the file names have been changed, or the object names of each document have been changed according to the auto naming rule we have defined here. And then, of course, Migration Center is able to also set the very basic Documentum system attributes, such as the modified dates, the creation dates, the owners, the modifiers, and so on. These are all system attributes which can be set either directly through Migration Center or through the life sciences configurations which you will have here. But from the migration point of view, right now, we're still going. So half of the objects have been migrated. We can also take a look in the mixsets. So the mixsets will also act as a overview on how the whole migration is proceeding, and you will see how many objects are still need to be processed from what you have processed so far, what is already imported, if there are any errors you need to handle, and so on. But basically, we are done with the actual migration. Thank you.
I will take over. Okay, so before we get to our Q&A session, let me make one quick slide for our migration tool, which has been mentioned by Roman and been shown by Cosmin just now. we have a dedicated website, which is migration-center.com, and on there you can find all our product features. You can find our service portfolio, which Roman mentioned in the beginning, and you can see some references in form of success stories or case studies as known. You can read our content migration blog, and you can also find our past webinars as recordings in which we show the migration from different source systems to various target systems, of course. And most importantly, if you are interested in Migration Center, you can test it for free, for no cost, for no charge. We offer a free evaluation copy. Just go to our Migration Center website and there will be a little pop-up on the right-hand side for which you can order your free evaluation copy. Up next, in June, we offer 2 upcoming webinars. The first one is about our newly introduced artificial intelligence module for Migration Center, which will help you to auto-classify your documents. And then we have another webinar at the end of June, which is about another cloud solution in the life sciences industry. To be exactly, it is about migrating out of legacy ECM solutions to Viva Vault with Migration Center, of course. Okay, now it's time for our Q&A session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate and put them into the questions panel or the chat panel, and we will take care of them now. So let me check how many questions we got so far. I see 2. Roman and Cosmin, I'm just going to read them out loud, and you can answer them accordingly. Okay, let's start. Do you also migrate from on-premises to off-premises systems?
Yes, we do. Actually, we do that. Yes, there are some use cases to do that. Well, for more capsuling the system from the cloud, yeah, kind of like that, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Roman, for your answer. Let's move on to our second question. Do you also migrate the audit trails and workflows?
Basically, audit trails are documents, so we migrate all the types of documents, so audit trails, history files, whatever versions. Workflows are not documents, so we don't migrate them, but for the other team which set up the target systems, in this case Documentum for life sciences, they can set up the workflow in the target system, and the migration team can run the documents within the source, within the target system through the workflow to get the document on the stage of the workflow from the SZS in the source system. So this is our approach.
Okay, thank you again for answering the questions. As far as I can see right now, there are no other questions, and as it happens very often, the questions come after the webinar. If that is so, please don't hesitate and just write us a short message to info@migration-center.com, which is displayed on the screen right now, and we will make sure to take care of your issue, problem, or challenge as soon as possible, of course. So, as far as I can see, there is the end of our 2 days webinar session. And I thank you for attending. I hope to see you again soon in one of our upcoming webinars. And all there is left to say is it's Migration Center you love to work with. I hope you have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.